Hello. Today on the Smallholding I'm planting some fast growing willows. Now I planted a lot of willow many years ago when I first had the Smallholding. I had sort of aspirations to make willow wattle fence hurdles, and I ordered a couple of thousand cuttings of two different types of willow, and I planted a couple of beds, one where the car park now is, as you come in a holding where I park the cars for family and that, and one over where my potato patch is. I ended up taking them up because it just wasn't something that I ended up doing. Had a bit of a play around, but anyway, things changed, I just didn't do it. I've kept a few though. I've got a few dotted about. I've got these ones behind me here, and on the side here, and a few others around the holding. These are Salix viminalis, which are like a very fast osier type of willow. They'll put on, once established, up to 12 foot easy here anyway, in a year. It depends on the area they're in. If they're in a particularly dry patch, then perhaps it'd be less. But saying that, they don't want to be too wet either, I don't think. I planted some for a lady who had a stream, and they did have their feet in water, and they didn't grow as well as mine here, which is just slightly moister soil. So it does depend on your soil type, but they are extremely fast growing. Now the Salix viminalis I've found, as you can see, I mean that is now probably 20 foot tall, and the thickest piece is probably about as thick as my wrist at the bottom. They don't tend to get really stout trunks. They get quite tall and leggy, and then they'll start to flop. So for logs, I wouldn't particularly plant the viminalis. I tend to use that just for if I need some longer poles for something in the veg garden, or just for woodchip. They're great for woodchip because willow breaks down really quickly, so they're great if you're adding woodchip to compost, because they will deteriorate a lot quicker than other hardwoods. So the viminalis is very good for that. Now the other willow that I have, I've just taken some cuttings from. I've only got about 10 to 12 trees left of it. Now this hasn't actually got an actual proper name. It's just called hybrid willow. I got this from a site, I can't remember which site it was. It was probably 15 years ago now, but it was just called red willow. So it grows at a similar pace to the viminalis in the first year, and then it slows down a little bit from the second year and will produce stouter trunks. Now I got a friend of mine last year to help me cut the trees down I had along the front ditch, because they were getting so tall that I was worried they were going to fall on the road. So he came, and he's a tree surgeon, and he dropped them onto my side safely, and I logged them up, and I burnt some of them this year. And the wood is actually not that bad. Now I wouldn't necessarily, as you know, I'm planting sycamores and eucalyptus and things for firewood. I wouldn't necessarily plant willow for firewood, but then it depends on your space. If you've only got a little bit of area, willow could be the way forward because it grows so fast. It's one of those things, it burns fast too. It's not as hard, but it does give you a reasonable firewood, especially if you've got the area that you can let it get to a fair size. The ones in the front ditch there, at the base, they were about 12 14 inches, and they had been in probably 15 years, something like that. So quite big trees pretty quickly. So I'm going to chop these up, and I'm going to plant a few more of these through here, which I may just leave to provide me with extra firewood in the future should I run short, because obviously I've had problems. I'm losing all my ash trees to ash dieback, so I'm kind of panicking and planting as many trees as I can now, just to get my firewood production back up. So it doesn't hurt to just have a few willow in the mix, I don't think. So what you do with these, it's really simple. I made myself this little tool. It's just a bit of old bar. That's probably about 10 mil or 12 mil bar, galvanized bar, and I just welded on a little foot plate, and then that's probably about a 10-inch spike at the bottom. So all I do is I stick that where I want them, bang it right down with a foot plate. Got the handle on the top there, just give it a bit of a wiggle round, make a hole, pull it out, and you stick your cutting in. So all you do is get your secateurs, just remember which way up your cutting is, give it a little point at the bottom like that, and then I plant them probably about 12 inches. That is a willow cutting. That's how easy it is, and that will take. Now I've planted these at all different times of the year. And I have found that if you plant them too early, so like in the autumn or any time before Christmas, you will lose some. If you get a particularly wet winter, you will quite often lose some to rot. So I tend to leave it now till February and March, literally right at the end of the winter. It might seem a bit late, but in my experience they seem to take a bit better. I would say probably February is the best month for it. So literally all you do is you make your hole and you just push that in down to the bottom of the hole. You want a couple of inches sticking out, and then just with your foot just heeling around it, just to push that soil back to it. What I'll do is I'll bring the camera in closer and I'll show you exactly what I do. Right, so what I do is I get my planting device, stick it in the ground, put my foot on it, ram it down, give it a bit of a wiggle to open up the hole, and then just get my cutting pointy end down so your buds are all pointing up, and just push it down to the bottom of the hole so that you've got a couple of inches sticking up, and then just get your heel and just give it a bit of a heel round just to make sure it's firmed in. And then what I'll do is I'll come around and I'll put some wood chip around this just to keep the grass down so there's not so much competition. And then this year we'll probably put on about 6 foot of growth. Now the rods this year will be quite thin, but I'll cut it down next year to the same height, and then the second year you'll be pretty much up to sort of the growth you'd expect from a willow. Now as to planting distances, you can put them literally, if you want to just grow for year-old rods, to do sort of, these will be thicker rods because they're super fast growing, you can put them about 1 foot apart in every direction, and then you harvest them every year. You get lovely straight rods, nice sort of whippy rods, and you can use those for sort of basketry or small, whatever you want to use small rods for. I'm going to be growing these and just leaving them as trees, so I'm probably going to put them a couple of meters apart, up sort of 6 to 8 foot apart, and then I'll give them a coppice down next year just to make the stem a bit stronger, the main trunk a bit stronger, and to get a good half a dozen shoots that will hopefully in sort of 6 or 8 years time give me some nice rounds about that sort of size. So I'm going to probably bung 20 trees through here, and I might dot a few more around other places in the holding too. So thanks for watching, and if you're interested in growing any super fast growing willows, just have a quick look online. There's lots of places that sell them, all different types, all different colours. They're quite an interesting thing to grow actually. But you can order cuttings. You order sort of like foot-long cuttings in packs, and they're pretty cheap, really. You know, not too pricey. But you know, give them a go if you've got the room. They are quite interesting. But anyway, guys, that's it. It's another little job nearly done. And remember to like and subscribe, please, if you're enjoying the channel. And we will see you next time. Take it easy.